I do want to talk about the Vikings for the most part of this segment. Okay, so they had a fantastic season. However, the chinks in the armor were very apparent throughout the whole year. That defense is not very good. And if you're able to limit Justin Jefferson, because you cannot take him out of the equation, if you limit Justin Jefferson, they don't have much else. TJ Hawkinson came on later, but Adam Thielen isn't there. It isn't really a solid option anymore.
This might have been. I didn't see his contract, but Thielen might retire at the end of the year. So I think he's 32 or 33, and I agree. It was definitely. You noticed his age. He was not the elite receiver like how we're used to seeing. The other good option, and he hasn't panned out. He's had moments like the Colts game. He had an absolute day, but those moments are few and far between. He hasn't panned out to the number 2 that they're hoping for. The thing for me, I agree with you completely on the defense, but the thing for me, if they're going to have that type of offense and you still have Dalvin Cook in the backfield, their offensive line sucks. Like just to put it nicely,
it's not good.
When they face a team with a competent pass rush, I mean, let's look at Dallas, for example. Let's look at the first half of the Colts game. Let's look at both games when they played against the Giants. The
Packers game.
The Packers game is another one.
Second Packers game.
Yeah. The Bills also. They got lucky with the Bills, but the Bills still they have a solid pass rush, and the
Patriots also played them very tough.
Yeah. So they they need to address the offensive line. And I think where they're picking, there's going to be a couple prospects that they can immediately go get. But that should be the number one concern, in my opinion. Because especially then if they're going to keep Kirk Cousins, he's not the most mobile. He's definitely obviously more of a pocket passer, but he's not going to threaten the defense with his legs. So they attacked him. And they just couldn't do that. And I know everyone keeps bringing it up, but the Dallas game was just the most noteworthy. I mean, like Dallas would just send 5 guys, and they couldn't block all 5 guys. And so Kirk Cousins has less than 2 seconds to get rid of the ball. And when his number one option going, like immediately look at Justin Jefferson, teams double team him, and then by then Kirk Cousins can't really try and find a second receiver. He's done. So if they want to make a deeper run into the playoff, they have to address that offensive line immediately.
No, I 100% agree. And their secondary, I think, would be better if they would beef up the front 7 a lot.
Yeah.
If they don't get one of the top tackles in the draft, I think it would be worth taking a look at some of the edge rushers that fall. I haven't done too deep of a dive yet into this year's draft class. However, there's always seems to be a guy like Jermaine Johnson or Jalen Phillips that fall to the early 20s. Like that could be a stud edge rusher.
Yeah.
Just maybe like production wasn't quite there in college, or maybe the talent he went up against wasn't quite to par. There's a lot of guys that come out like that, and I think that is the route that they need to go. Beef up the trenches coming into next year. They have a good shot at the division next year. However, Lions are knocking on the door. The Packers are going to be in this weird limbo state, I think, with either Aaron Rodgers trying to come back for another year, Jordan Love taking over for his first full year, and then the Bears are going to suck. But those 3 teams, I think, are really going to make a push, and I think the Vikings need to beef up in the trenches to make those games interesting.
Well, especially too, like you talk about the division. Like if I look at the Lions and the Packers, like if the Packers' offensive line is healthy, like with David Bakhtiari and everything, it's like Packers on average, they have a well above average offensive line. Lions' offensive line is going to be or should be a top 10 offensive line next year. So if they're going to have to get after Jared Goff or stop that Lions offense at all, they're going to need to get after the quarterback, and they're just not able to do that at all. Danielle Hunter is really good edge rusher. He's just getting up there in age, and I don't think they have very little youth behind him.
Only one.
Yeah.
So once you put a running back on his side, it's like, okay, the tackle can stay inside, and if he goes out wide, he just gets chipped. Like, so that limits his production greatly.
Yeah.
So, and then that reduces you to blitz packages and scheming pressure, which is risky. Like, that doesn't always work. For me, I think building up the trenches on both sides of the ball is the way that they need to go. This is a good class for doing that, as well as this is a good free agency and draft class for doing that. And who knows, maybe they'll be improved next year. So they did get lucky in a lot of games this year that they should have lost.
They should have lost a lot. Yeah.
The Bills game comes to mind. I'm not saying they should have lost the Patriots game, but
they should have lost. Yeah, like
the Patriots gave them a touchdown basically with running into the kicker call. Well, like just a stupid, blatant running into the kicker. The Patriots would have had the ball to 25.
Yeah.
So,
well, and one final thing too, while we have a couple minutes left with this Vikings game is. What do you think they do with Kirk Cousins? Do you think Kirk Cousins stays there for another year? Or
I mean,
because he's not
the QBR. He was a top 7 quarterback in the NFL this year. I know he's not that.
Okay, fair. But how much of that though is has to do with Justin Jefferson though?
Oh, a lot.
Yeah. So I don't think he's the guy to take them, because with where they're at now, I don't think he's the guy that will take them to the Super Bowl. I just don't think he is that guy. Even if they put the pieces around him, I don't know what you do with it. I need to go look at his contract situation. But eventually, even after 2023, they have to move on from him, because you're going to be getting to Jefferson's prime. You need to be building the other pieces around him for the young quarterback you're going to draft, or the veteran quarterback you're going to trade for. But I just don't think Kirk Cousins there. I do think he's one of the statistically better quarterbacks in the league, but he just cannot seem to get the Vikings over that hump.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kirk Cousins can do it, but he's not going to be this team with Kirk Cousins at quarterback could potentially win a Super Bowl. They'd have to have a lot of things go their way, and you cannot rely on Kirk Cousins to make a play. Right? And so I agree that they might, if they have a Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen, or they can go get a guy like that, I think, maybe that's worth it. But again, you're talking about a guy that was top 10 in the NFL in QBR this year. It's not exactly there's only 9 other guys that can do what he did this year.
Yeah.
And so that for me, it's where it's hard.
Yeah.
So,
no, and that's where I get the statistics as well. Side of it, yes, but then I think a lot of that though was maybe a little bit of an easier schedule, some luck in some games. I think the assistance of Justin Jefferson catching borderline everything. Helping out on his stats. And so for me, I think long-term big picture, Kirk Cousins just is not the guy for me.
I agree. I just don't see another option for them next year, because they're not going to be in a position to draft one unless they draft an Anthony Richardson or
that could be a guy.
Hendon Hooker or
not Hendon Hooker. Yeah.
Well, but that's what I mean. It's unless they're going to draft a project and do that. But honestly, at that point, I would rather wait until rounds 5 and 6 and
Yeah.
See if you can find yourself a Brock Purdy. Like,
it's hard to find a Brock Purdy. There aren't too many Brock Purdys. And so.
No, but exactly. But if you look at the number of first-round busts that are taken, it's like I think that 22nd pick or whatever that they have would be much better spent on a right tackle, defensive lineman, or almost anything else.
Oh no, and I don't disagree with you that on the well. I'm wondering through free agency or through trades, and I do see like the fault in my point, especially for this offseason, is like, are you going to cut Kirk Cousins, try and trade for Derek Carr? Because is that big of an improvement? No, like it is not. Also, and to your point, statistically, it is not that big of an improvement. It actually would be a regression if we're going by the statistics. So what you do in that situation, I'm not entirely sure. I don't think Kirk Cousins is going to be the guy, and I'll be the first one to eat my words if he takes me to the Super Bowl next year and they win. But it's we saw Joe Burrow last year with the worst offensive line, and he took them to the Super Bowl, getting sacked. It felt like 100 times in the playoffs alone, and he was still able to manage getting around a weak offensive line and take that team to the Super Bowl. And there's a lot more that goes into that. Yes. The Bengals defense was definitely better than the Vikings defense was going into the playoffs, but
and they got hot and a little lucky.
Yeah, but like they won those games. Like Joe Burrow was able to figure out a way to lead that offense down and to score more points than the Tennessee Titans, the Raiders, the Chargers, not the Chargers, the Chiefs. So, but yeah, the fun thing to think about going in the offseason, at least with the Vikings, it's very obvious what needs to be fixed and what needs to be kept.